Here's our story of relearning almost everything and finally beginning to live. We're Lance and Christine Wakeland. Until 2023, we'd been struggling to live a somewhat normal American life. We knew we wanted more. We tried opening a coffee house, and I think we did a pretty great job. Our espresso and baked goods were at the top of their game. We loved especially the community life we'd created. But even more than that, we loved the music. But we still needed something else. The city was closing in on us, and my health in particular was deteriorating from the stress of it all. We just couldn't keep up anymore with the bills and the busyness. We lived in a lovely home we affectionately called the Peacock. We'd finished raising our 6 oldest kids there, and we had lush gardens and chickens and turkeys and the occasional visit from Bigfoot. He's playing hide and seek. But we wanted a better way of life for our 2 youngest kids. We wanted to live a life of true worship with God and nature, and to learn how to properly care for the land, for ourselves, and for our community. So hopefully, the next generation won't have to live in such a mess like we did. So we sold it all, and we packed up what little was left, including our 20 chickens and a handful of turkeys, and we moved to 47 acres of raw land on an Ozark mountain. And though it's the hardest thing we've ever faced, it's the most free we've ever been.
We are going down the road to our property for the first time. Yeah, and I'm psyched. It's beautiful.
Pretty.
Okay, how's it going? We're here at Mount Freedom. It's our first day. 42 acres here. About probably 35 of it is wooded. And just getting started right here. Getting ready to take this out. This is going to be our temporary storage area where we put up our pretty much canvas carport storage. You'll see what that looks like when we're done. A lot different than it looks right now. They'll have nice wooden floors in them. If you come over this way, this will be not in stone yet, but more than likely the garden area over here. This will be like within most of these trees out, just leave the big ones. This will be kind of like a park-like setting. Nice open, let a lot of sunshine in here, get some grass growing, and keep the big trees. So get a good look at that, because that is not what that looks like now, but it'll be pretty amazing what it looks like when we're done. And on down this way, the house is going to be down this way. Get over here. So there's an old burned down home site here where these concrete block pillars are. We're going to take all that. We're actually probably going to use that for fill for our driveway coming in off the road. Got about a 5-foot drop. We're going to need to fill in about a 30-foot wide driveway up there. So the house is going to be sitting here facing Mount Freedom in all its glory. That kind of big old sycamore kind of hides a lot of it. But that is basically due south from where our house is going to be. So all the solar will be in that direction. Obviously a lot of this, some of this cover is going to be coming down like this burned up tree. But it'll be here. It'll be back in here a little bit farther than where I am, facing this way and about right where I am. will be where the pool is, and parking will be over here on this side next to the park-like setting. So there's that, and if you can come over here, you can't really see it. So there's a wet weather creek that comes around here about 20 yards from where I'm at. We'll actually eventually build a bridge over it and have, like, there's another probably acre of flat land over there. We'll probably turn that into basically the Garden of Eden. It'll be beautiful and just awesome. And then you guys can see here's the big creek bed, which we got a lot of work ahead of us. You probably can't tell on there, but down here about 80 yards it shoots over to where it's about probably 340 feet wide, because nobody ever kept track of it. It kept getting wider and wider. So we're gonna dig it all out over here at the bottom of the mountain and to where it's channels over through there, and we'll bring all this gravel back over with the dozer and all that. There's about 2 acres down there that will be probably, we'll either have animals down there or gardening, whichever. Anyway, it'll be a lot more fruitful than a bunch of rocks. So we'll bring in tons of wood chips and topsoil for that when we get to that. So that's kind of a quick, run through. All the chickens, turkeys, small animals, all that'll be down there by where, kind of farther, that would be basically like northeast of where I showed you we're cutting out there for the storage. So it'll be awesome and beautiful, but I guess we'll wrap this up. But that's just kind of a general idea of what we got going on here. Like I said, this is absolutely day one. We just signed papers on this probably about 3 or 4 hours ago. So got a lot of work, but definitely going to be well worth it. Anyway, so okay, goodbye now.
When we first were able to come and occupy the land,
That afternoon we brought out here the flatbed trailer.
we had found 60 pallets for like $2 each.
Yeah,
And so we had them loaded up with some water
yeah, and they're really nice ones with 3/4 inch plywood on one side of them.
and a couple 275 gallon totes. We came and we worked that day and cleared. You kind of came back and forth for a few days, and then you decided you were going to stay here with Naos in a tent.
Yeah, and right over there, about 20 yards from here, we set up our big, like 20-foot long regular camping tent. And me and Naos stayed in that. We had a little fire pit over there that we just, a circle of rocks that we had dug up out of the ground. And this was the first area that we cleared. Just came straight in with my chainsaw, cutting the trees, weed eating, mowing as we went. We killed a big old rattlesnake, about a 4-foot long rattlesnake that was in there. You see it just chilling? I remember, like, some of Nail's best memories is that time period, and it's just, we got no running water, no air conditioning. It's August. It's 95, 100-degree days, but I had back at our house, I had a 4-foot long water trough that we had bought, that we used it to raise up some of the birds in, and I filled that up at the house with water. And in the evenings, we also got this big, like 4-foot long cooler in the evening I would plop down in that water tank in the back of my truck, and Naos would be in the cooler, and it was like, because I remember, like we were like done for the day. It's dark. We're getting to get in the tent. I'm like, Naos, and the tent's like, probably 15 yards from my truck with the water tank in it. I'm like, Naos, I'm gonna take off all my clothes and walk out and get in that water tank in my truck. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna get in the the cooler, and you're just sitting there, and you're just so thankful to have water and just to be able to cool off. It's like inexplicable until you can experience it, because we grow up having running water ain't no big deal, but when you get to where running water is a big deal, your thankfulness for it massively multiplies.
Remember what he said then?
No.
So later we were in the truck. I was.
Oh, I think I know.
Yeah, you can say it if you want.
Are you about the hair thing?
Yeah.
He's like, Mom, Dad has hair in places you don't know about.
I know something you don't know.
Oh yeah.
I know something you don't know about Dad, Mom.
That was awesome.
Oh, wow.
So innocent.
Yeah. So that's good times. And it was really hot because it was July, and 100 plus degrees every
Heat index
day.
way over 100.
This place was just covered in bugs because it was just raw land.
It's so wild here. Like, we're surrounded by national forest on 3 sides, and then the other side is property that nobody occupies. So just all kinds of animals and bugs and lizards and snakes and everything.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
He got to work clearing, and I finished packing and taking care of business back at home, and we had animals at home, so those need to be taken care of. And it was and then just every few days he'd come back and we'd load up more of our stuff, because he was getting it to the point where we had the storage tents, and so he started to put stuff in the storage tents.
Our storage tents, we just got, they're not 10 by 20, I think they're 10 by 17, just like carport tents from Harbor Freight, and I used those pallets. I built the wood floor out of those pallets, leveled it all out, made it all solid. I just drove like 4x4s and 2x6s down in the dirt till I couldn't drive them any further, and use that to support it and level it all out, and built those carports on them.
Yeah, they're pretty sturdy, and it worked out well. Why is it called the Flame at Mount Freedom? So we decided to, the feeling of, like, when we stepped onto the land and knew this was where we were going to be, and we started working the land.
Well, and we had sold our house. We had sold a business. I had shut down my remodel construction business. We
sold almost everything that we owned just to stay afloat.
I just remember standing somewhere around here and looking at the mountain and just feeling so free, like the burden of all that lifted, which unfortunately, most people here in the United States are never going to experience.
Yeah.
Just
the freedom from the 9 to 5, from the slave drive of working for someone else, or trying to keep up with all of your payments and all of the things, or just the people, getting away from the people that are trying to crush you at every corner. I think such freedom there.
I think for me, that's a big part of us doing this, is I want to encourage other people to have the boldness and the lack of fear to step out and do that, because that's what it is. Because to most people, you're a weirdo, but I promise you, I'm happier than anybody you know. It is awesome.
And for me, is the freedom from the stress of having to run businesses or live in just without him at home, without him with our children. Because Naos, oh my gosh, constantly would be like, when can I go to work with Dad?
Yeah.
When do I get to work with Dad? It is nonstop, and you just don't get to do that. But here, the freedom was that the son and the daughters get to be with the father and the mom.
And the truth is, in that whole rat run money making thing, actually money doesn't answer all your problems. It just compounds everything, and you get sucked in and you think about what you're doing with your money, and then you just take on bigger things, and it never fixes the slavery. You're still trapped with all this pressure and this, most people stress. And really, I don't know, even though I hate the saying less is more, in some things less is more.
Yeah. And so, like, that's the freedom part of it. Mount Freedom, we named the mountain that is here Mount Freedom. And then the flame part of it, I don't know, we used it as like what we call when we're worshiping God. Like,
Yeah.
Our hearts are aflame for Him. We want to live passionately as if we're on fire.
We're burning
our
for
love.
Him, and
Yeah.
all this is a part of what He's given us and pleasing Him, and it's awesome to
Yeah.
just let that fire burn.
Yeah, and we knew when we first moved here that that worship is going to be a big part of this. We
Yeah.
believe worship is 24/7. It's everything is worship. There's not a single thing.
Yeah, and
we do
and
is
we're
worship.
not weird, tree hugging, rock worshiping people. But the truth is, God does want us to, have this stuff in our lives. Like, it's better to be outside than it is to be inside. Like, you need the sun. You need, you need
to touch
what
the
you
earth.
get, even just grounding on the earth. Like, it is good for your body, and all the,
In the winter, the cold is good for your body.
yeah. And
All these different things that being outside and forcing yourself to be outside is
and
what we needed.
And I notice a difference. I'll tell, like, I work so much because there's so much to do here, and we're still, we have so much infrastructure still to build. And I've noticed that, like, I don't feel tired. I feel refreshed every day, and I'm 50 years old, so I kind of know what it's like to be me, and I've never felt this way before. Like, I can work all day and not get that much sleep. And yeah, I'm not as energized as I would be if I would have got more sleep, but I don't feel tired. I can just keep going, and it's awesome.
Yeah. So the day that we had to move out of
Begin
our
moving.
old house, that we couldn't live in our other house anymore, we had to be here.
Yeah.
And so the week leading up to that was like every day, just more and more loads. We just had a truck and a trailer to be able to pull everything and get it here. So it was like, 10 loads.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And we didn't really have any help.
My best friend helped me one day. One of our adult sons helped us.
Another day. Yeah, and other than that, it was just us in
Yeah.
100-degree weather, day
Yeah.
after day.
It was pretty horrible, and everything was
awful.
grown up. It was like being in a jungle, and it's just almost like when it's like that, it just feels like that even like increases the humidity and the miserableness
Yeah.
and the bugs.
So throughout that week, we already had one wall tent set up so we could just move furniture directly into it as it came, and then we go back and get more. But wall tents it's pretty easy to put up a wall tent, right? Not hard.
Yeah, because you got the metal frame and
Yeah.
you've got them all secured on. I got wood floors under all of them. I even, leveled out and secured all the pallets, and then I went ahead and put 3/4 inch Advantech subfloor over that, and it's great. Like, our tents, they're tents, but we have real furniture. We sleep in real beds. It's cozy, and it creates an appreciation for a house, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The last day, the day we had to be out of the Peacock, we had to be out by noon, and it was a rush because, I think at 11:30, we still didn't have the animals gathered up yet to get our turkeys. I think we had how many turkeys? 4 or 5,
4, I think.
and we had 20 chickens, and nothing but cardboard boxes to transport them in, and so it was 100, I think 110 that day.
It was hot.
It was really hot, and we just had to put them all in boxes and get here as quick as we could.
And we lost a few chickens.
Yeah, by the time we got here, I think 3 of the chickens had
It was
died.
all, like, I think we lost a couple barred rocks.
Yeah.
And maybe something else. All the Rhode Island Reds and the Americanas. We might have lost an Americana.
I think we lost 1 Americana.
Yeah.
And then 2
Rhode
barred
Island
rocks.
Reds were good to go.
Yeah, but it was extremely hot. It was extremely stressful because we didn't have a place to put the chickens or the turkeys yet. We'd not had time to do anything for that. So he real quick threw up some pallets to get the turkeys into.
Yeah, the turkeys were in the pallets, and for the chickens, I just took, we had
a 100-foot roll of fence.
Yeah.
And this was like, we were so exhausted already because we'd already done several loads, and it was hot.
I remember being so tired and exhausted and just mentally and physically wore. I mean, it was like so hard to just build that little pen.
Because
I'd like have to take a break every.
And it was an emergency because the chickens were dying. They're in the heat. They're dying. We're doing all we can, but we can't let them just out because we had our dogs here too. Yeah. And the chickens hadn't been here, and it's just like, oh, so we had this 100-foot roll of fence, and we got the posts.
We had T-stakes, like I had 7-foot T-stakes, T-posts.
And you made it was only
I probably made it
3.
10 by 4,
Yeah.
10 by 4, and and honestly, it wasn't the intent at the time, but they ended up being in there for months.
Yeah.
And
you would come up and you'd start to unroll the fence, and you'd get about 5 feet around, and you're like, I can't do it anymore. I gotta take a break. And so I would step in, and I can't even lift the thing.
So you guys don't know me, but I'm actually a very strong man, and I couldn't even pick the roll up.
Oh, we were exhausted.
It was quite an experience.
I think we both had heat exhaustion that day.
Yeah, heat exhaustion and just every form of exhaustion.
So I would, while he took his little 1-minute break, I would try to move this thing, and it'd go half an inch, and then he'd be like, okay, I can do it again. I got it. I think seeing me struggle was motivation to be like, no, I'm the one that has to do it.
Okay. Started breathing, taking breaths, and
that
then
was awful.
yeah.
That was really bad.
Yeah, that's almost painful memories that you almost don't even want to talk about.
Yeah. We found out that first day these dogs were not going to be the right dogs for this property because both of them were bird dogs. And
they were killers.
They were killers already.
And they were too old to train differently. I'm sure it technically might have been possible, but we didn't have the time to do it.
No, or the love of that.
Yeah, then it was
training.
It was really hard getting rid of those dogs because Nia, the golden doodle, was Nava's, and then Thresher, the chocolate lab, was Naos, and we bought them just for them, and paid a lot of money for them, and it was hard as a parent to take those away from your kids.
Yeah, but one of them, Nia, went to a family member, so we still see Nia occasionally, and which is great. That was a comfort to Nava. And then Thresher, one of our sons, had a friend that just loves chocolate labs and had other chocolate labs, and so she took Thresher, and I think he found a good home there.
I've always, I was raised to be a hard worker. I've always been a hard worker, and this is the hardest thing I've ever done, living like this. No complaints at all. It's awesome. I'm full of joy. But it is hard, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know, I'm very skilled in carpentry and construction and, with a chainsaw and lawn care type stuff, and just all this man stuff, I just happen to, live a life of doing that kind of stuff all the time. And I mean, kudos to the people that do stuff like this. And they're not craftsmen. They're not, carpenters or construction dudes, and they're rigging stuff up because it's all they know how to do. I mean, but I guarantee you they're happy.
Yeah. And I'm an extremely hard worker too. I'm not afraid to get dirty or work harder than I am actually physically capable of doing, and so it was really hard on me but the reward, because you're doing it because God's told you to, and you know that this is the right thing, and the reward of doing it is so fantastic that you just keep going.
It's
yeah.
You don't even.
Yeah, and also, you know, like, we want to create a different life for our kids that are grown or that are here still, because nobody taught us how to farm. Nobody taught us how to be healthy in a way that is really honoring God fully. And so we're learning as we go and teaching our 2 young children, you know, along the way.
Yeah.
They're right there with us. So
it's awesome because they're a part of everything. And, you know, that's really, I mean, we're huge on that. I'm so thankful to get to be, you know, to not go off to a 9-to-5 job. I mean, it would be nice to have some money, but it's not as nice as actually being a father to your children.
One of the final things we did in preparation to live on our raw land was to bring in 2 2,200-gallon water tanks. Now, at the time, we had no idea the struggle we would soon face to fill and use them, as we did not have a working plan for the most important resource we would need: water.
Yeah. Good job. I just got one more turn over. Oh. Yep. It's hitting the other one. Yay. Yay. And now we have 5,000 gallons, potentially, of water. You can catch the next episode of The Flame at Mount Freedom to hear how our desperate need for water was provided for in the most unexpected way. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our channel.